What's up, everyone? Welcome to the DFS Army Fast 40 NASCAR Cup Series breakdown. My name is Kevin Allen, aka The Geek, and I'm here with Brady and Taco. We're going to break down this Dover Duramax Drydene 400 race. A very predictable race, maybe a very boring race, but one that we can get a lot of leverage on in certain spots. So let's get right into it, guys. All right, we've got a 1 mile track in Dover, 400 laps, lots of Dominator points to go around. And Taco, before we get into the breakdown of the race itself, tell me about the carnage aspect here. We were talking a little off air. We always want to understand the carnage aspect, and we'll look at historical scoring. But tell me about the carnage of this race. What can we expect?
So most of the time, Dover is a pretty green flag race. We've had some races recently where there have been literally no cautions. But sometimes things get a little weird here. It's a monster mile. It's got a really hard turn 4. Probably one of the most difficult tracks on the NASCAR circuit. It's a real single groove track too. So a lot of single file racing tends to happen here once all settles out. Sometimes this could be a bit of a carnage fest, and we are up against some rain. So this might be a slightly shortened race. It's not going to be postponed. Like, the rain is coming towards the end of the race, so we might not have 400 laps. But usually this race goes about 2.5 to 3 hours, and the rain's supposed to be coming at around 6. Race starts at 3:15, so we should get most of the race in. It just depends on cautions, and if it's a green flag race, no problem. We're just going to have some big dominators put up big points. But if we have, I think I was just looking a few years ago in 2017, we had a race with 12 cautions here for some reason. If you have another disaster like that, or even the race last year, we used to go here twice a year, every year. We started coming here once a year starting last year. In last year's race, that race was almost 4 hours long. Just a lot of ways that this race can play out. It's kind of a wild card as far as the tracks go. It's not very similar to other tracks. Maybe more like Bristol or Darlington would be the ones you think of, but it's really just a single groove track, and it's one of the chalkiest races on the board, very similar to like Richmond, where, as you can see there, the top drivers have a humongous advantage here. I mean, and there are never any surprise winners, like, ever. It's always the cream rises to the top here.
Every week on the Fast 40, we take a look at the average scoring by starting position, and this is as pronounced as it's gonna get, not just by scoring by starting position, but more so by driver rating. So the elite drivers score well here, and my assumption, and it's probably correct, is that the reason this is happening is because one driver, probably, or one or two drivers, get out front and they just lead the whole thing. Or they get a ton of points and it just spreads all those fantasy points around to sort of the top guys. But it's very clear the best drivers have dominated here, 100 to 110, still doing pretty good. And the scoring just goes down. Now, here's what's interesting, Brady. This year's kind of different with the whole driver who's good and who's not. So there's a lot of shakeups going on, right? We don't have like 6 elite guys and then a bunch of scrubs. This season, and I don't really know. I think it's the vehicle. I think it's just the young guns coming up. But this season, I mean, who's really elite? Can we say that Tyler Reddick is an elite guy? Can we say that at this point, Chase Briscoe and Ross Chastain, are these guys elite to the point where we have to think of them the same way as we think of any of the other, Larsons or Kyle Bushes of the world?
Yeah, that's the thing, and I mentioned it in my notes. Like, this really, to me, feels like the first real race of the season, because right now we're about to, like, over the next 5 weeks, Dover, Darlington, Kansas, Texas, Charlotte, some really traditional tracks that we're finally going to learn who kind of the top dogs are. Because if you look at the first 11 races, or first 10 races, Daytona doesn't really count. Atlanta didn't count. Coda doesn't count. Martinsville, Bristol, Talladega, they all don't really count. We've only had 3 real predictive races of 10 right now. So I still don't think it's fair to say who's good and who's not. What I do think we know is Hendrick is going to be good. It appears like the Trackhouse guys are at a step above where we thought they would be. And I think SHR is better than they were last year. But those are the only things I'm comfortable saying for sure. Tyler Reddick's been great a couple of weeks, but he's also been pretty irrelevant the last couple of weeks. So where's Tyler Reddick fit into everything? Joe Gibbs has been not really dominating races, but finishing okay and have 2 wins. So where do they fit in? It's just kind of hard to say who is truly elite. But I think today it's pretty safe to say that Hendrick is probably going to be the answer to that question.
Yeah, so there, and we also have a set. No, well, let me throw it back to you then. On those 3 races that were quote unquote predictive, give me a little bit of like what went down on those races. Remind me. Obviously, we played them. I remember them, but I don't. So
the problem is they're short flat tracks, so a lot of that doesn't even carry over. Like you had Las Vegas and Auto Club in the very beginning of the race, but those are kind of disasters because there's a brand new car. Nobody really knew what they were doing. And the guys that are fast in those races, they tend to not be very fast in the recent short tracks we've been to, Richmond and Phoenix. I would probably not include Martinsville because Martinsville is a carnage fest.
So the 3 I would consider to be somewhat predictive were Las Vegas, which Alex Bowman won, but that was a weird race. I forget what happened there. Bowman definitely didn't dominate.
There's a lot of carnage in that one too. A lot.
Phoenix, which was exceedingly hard to pass. Chase Briscoe stayed out late on 2 tires or no tires, and nobody could get around him. So Chase Briscoe won at Phoenix, and then Denny Hamlin won at Richmond, which was a fuel mileage race, I believe, and or it was a pit strategy race, and Hamlin took tires at the right time and gunned down whoever was leading. I think it was Tyler Reddick. So even those races, like, there was nothing. We didn't learn enough to say anything with confidence quite yet about this car. But over the next couple of weeks, we will, because this is the most normal stretch of schedule.
Yeah. But we got to make money these next couple of weeks, not sit back, relax, and watch the action. So that's what we're about.
It means we gotta be different, because a lot of people are using data from the season that we've explained, and we kind of knew this coming into the season because of the schedule and how it was. Like, we just don't have a lot of data to work with. It's still kind of wide open, like who's good and who's not. Nothing is really set in stone yet. So being different, being contrarian, I think that is a way to go. Typically, I wouldn't at this track, though, because it's such a chalky race. But, I mean, the pure speed tends to come through here, and we're still not entirely sure. We're not entirely sure, like, who even has, like, the most speed like that. And like Brady is saying, we'll know that in the next coming of weeks. But, like, at Richmond, you saw more of the old guard kind of guys that were able to save their tires and do good pit strategy. Those are the guys that are doing well. As where a lot of the other races this season, we've seen the new guys really pop off where they never would have before. Guys like Briscoe, Chastain, Cindric, etc. So
yeah, I've been enjoying
an interesting one.
I've been enjoying the youth movement quite a bit in NASCAR this season, and the ability to finally rely on some of these younger names to really step up and start being dominators and start being elite names, but they're still not priced that way. And we have a couple of those situations this week that are crazy. The starting positions really make for like a very clear-cut way you have to play this race and this track. We're going to have some extreme chalk here. You've got Family Man asking about Willie Byron. Clearly, Willie Byron is like the chalkiest of all of them, starting 33rd. Maybe play someone else like a Logano as a pivot. Lots of different possibilities here. Lots of good drivers starting far back in the pack across the entire spectrum of salaries to where we're getting.
You've got free plays down there. Like
we've got
crazy pricing
all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going to use the research station to go and actually go through each driver rather than the cheat sheets. We'll leave those for DFS Army subscribers. And if you're not subscribed to DFS Army, I suggest you do so right now. Go do it. Sign up at DFS Army. You want to use promo code GEEK. You could use promo code NASCAR. It'll get you 10% off the NASCAR package. Promo code GEEK gets you 10% off VIP. That's what you want every sport. Do you know that we just got tagged as the most accurate NHL cheat sheet and breakdowns in the industry for the entire season?
I've had that with NASCAR before too.
Yeah, we're always the top of NASCAR, NHL. It's we were top 3 NFL, we were top 3 NBA, top 2, like across the board. You're getting the best DFS breakdowns in the industry right here. We keep the pricing for every man. We're priced below all of the other sites that you'd looked at significantly because we want to keep to our motto of average Joes into DFS pros competing on a level playing field. So we've kept it this way. Get in there, sign up, see what it's all about. We coach, we do all of that. So get in there. And now let's get into this breakdown. And let's start right at the top, boys, with Kyle Larson. Everybody loves Kyle Larson. You love Kyle Larson. I love Kyle Larson. He dominated everything last year. He's good at this style of track. Looks like he is the odds-on favorite to win this bad boy. Starting third.
Yep.
Was he starting third for this one?
Third. Yep.
Starting third. Dominator.
Please scroll over to the right
a
bit. I just scroll over to the right to the lead lap section. This is where it gets juicy, man. Lead laps per 400 laps. It's pretty crazy what he does here, and at correlated tracks as well. Just across the board, he's looking like a top tier dominator. One thing we have noticed with Larson in the last few seasons, tends to dominate like the early parts of this race, but when it's a longer race like this, because this is a 400 lapper at a 1 mile track, in these longer races, he tends to taper out towards the end. He kind of does that consistently, but if he dominates the early part of this race, it doesn't matter where he finishes. He could wreck and finish 30th, and he'd still have value if he leads 200 laps. So even at 12K, he's almost at 12K in pricing, which is crazy. But even at this price, like, doesn't matter. There are so many cheap plays on this slate that you could easily afford him. I don't think salary matters too much here, just because of the wide variety of plays available. And it's not like you're forced into like yesterday in the Xfinity series. There's only like 1 or 2 half decent plays down low, and just a bunch of scrub work you had to figure out. Here's like you feel very comfortable about using all the cheapest plays this week.
There are great plays across the board
even at that price.
Yeah, there are great plays, place differential guys, potential dominators at every salary level here.
Even the mid range, which usually just
the board,
an avoid.
Brady, any reason not to load up on Kyle Larson? We need the dominators. This race, if Kyle Larson dominates early and you don't have him, you don't have no money.
Yeah,
you're gonna make no money. It's not how it works.
The problem. He's priced up really high, and there's no secret to Kyle Larson. Like, you're not being sneaky by playing Kyle Larson. You're brute forcing it. But I mean, you look at his stats on this track. You look at Hendrick's stats on this track. You look at Kyle Larson's stats on correlated tracks. It's all way, 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 way green. It's hard to figure out a reason he was fast in practice for as little as practice as we had. It's really hard to get away from Larson, and the only way to make sense of it is he's 14,000. Like,
no, he's 11.8, but he's the highest price driver.
He's 14 on FanDuel.
I'm on the FanDuel tab. That's why.
FanDuel just has the top 4 guys all Hendrick, which last year literally most of this race was Hendrick running 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, no one was close.
We're in a different year. There are other drivers that are now hanging with Larson, Elliott. Last year, Larson, Elliott, Hendrick just dominated everything. We have to throw that shit out, Taco. Throw it out.
I mean, really, it just feels like, if anything, the other Hendrick guys stepped up, especially William Byron.
Well, Byron will get them supreme chalk for this race.
Yeah, but I don't think Larson is like by far the top dog anymore in that stable as he was last year.
Could it be
that still
Larson...
undeniable what he does at these types of tracks, what he does at this track specifically? Even back when he was like a rookie or just really young in the series, like, he was popping off here consistently.
His track history here is spectacular. So yeah, gotta love Larson. Pretty high ownership guy. Going to be a little chalky, and he needs to dominate. That's why you can't go more than the projected 30-ish% on him. I would not go over this personally because he's got to dominate. He probably will. He might, but if he doesn't, you're fucked. If you pay up this price, especially for a guy without place differential, and they don't dominate, your lineup is dead. So if you need a reason not to play a guy, it's his implied win percentage 30%, 13%. If he just happens to not dominate in this race, he destroyed your lineup. You will not win. I don't care if he finishes second. If he doesn't dominate the race, you will not win. Chase Elliott coming up second overall. He is starting fourth. He could be. This is what I'm saying. all of a sudden Chase Elliott gets the lead. Larson's behind him, and it's a Chase Elliott race. Absolutely something that could happen. You're getting him at lower ownership at 20%. Any reason? Is this a pivot off of Larson type of play? You're not playing them both, or is it a separately standalone really good play?
I made Chase Elliott. I rated him the exact same as Larson in my notes. I actually prefer Chase Elliott slightly. I thought he looked a little better in practice. He was stable, ran the corner really well, had great handle. And I assume he's getting the A gear at Hendrick right now. Not that they're all getting the same gear, but if there's an extra 40 hours of resources to put to one car, I'm guessing Chase Elliott's getting it just because he's the only one with the win right now. So I think Chase and Kyle are very equal. But if you're going to get Elliott a little bit cheaper, one spot back and 14% less ownership, I don't mind playing him being a little overweight because I think it's the same play as Larson.
I would avoid. It's not the end of the world. I would avoid two of these guys if I'm being honest. I don't think you can have them both in the same lineup and be successful. They're too expensive together. Again, there's even a possibility
I think you could. I think they could co-dominate very easily.
It could happen, but it's not very easily, Taco. It's not very easily. Like, it could happen, but that means no one else dominated, and there are so many other potential dominators here that they'll need to dominate like the whole thing. No one else.
It's gonna be hard to afford that, of course, but I mean,
well, that's the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. You're
probably the most likely pair of dominators.
2 over 11K guys. We'll make a lineup at the end of this. Stick around, and we will make a lineup at the end. So that gives you a reason to hang through this whole thing. We will make a lineup, or most of one, not a full one, because we'll make most of a lineup. We'll show some things on DraftKings at the end. So Chase Elliott, just as good, just as likely, a little bit less win odds than Kyle Larson, but 20% versus 40% owned. Which one do you want to go with for two similar guys? That's really what that comes down to. Both guys kind of similarly equal to dominate, but Larson has owned this type of track a little bit more maybe than Chase Elliott has career-wise. Elliott doesn't have those.
It is one of Elliott's best tracks, honestly, and he's dominated here recently. He dominated at Phoenix too. It's just
I guess when
his finishes have been rough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when he's not crashing early, that's just variance, though. You got to throw that out. So whatever. Yeah, it's variance. Throw it out. All right. Third up, we've got another Hendrick driver here, Willie Byron, and this is the chalk of the slate. When I say the chalk, he will be the highest owned driver on the slate. I'm not sure how great or bad that is, but he's starting 33rd. And I took a sneak peek, Brady, at your notes, and it said he should be up in 5th place, like, really quick.
Yeah, if this is what we think it is, if Hendrick comes out with cars as fast as we kind of anticipate, it should be no problem for William Byron to be back inside the top 5 pretty quickly. It's not a track he's historically stood out at, though over the last year he was a lot better than usual. And he's been pretty consistently either like wreck or top 5 at correlated tracks. So I would put him inside the top 10 by the end of stage 1. Maybe that's a little ambitious, just if it goes green, but over time he'll matriculate to the top 10 and make his way to the top 5 pretty quick. But he is going to be super high owned, and we've seen so many chalk bombs over the course of the last couple weeks. I'm sure some people will be put off. But Byron has been this year one of the more reliable drivers. And while he may not dominate this race, I think he'll get a pretty solid finish in most ways this race plays out.
Brady,
I like the 20-1. If
I think
still
he needs
get
to
that.
dominate, guys. I think he needs to dominate, even because there's so many great place differential plays. I think that even starting 33rd, if you're 11K, you probably had to dominate a little bit if you're going to get in there, unless there's some scenario where like Reddick or Chastain dominates the whole thing. You could just not play Larson or Elliott and just play a Willie Byron, and he moves ahead and he finishes 3rd or 2nd. Like there's a way he gets there, but it's not a very clear and easy path at that salary level, unless the other expensive drivers all kind of fail. But Taco, how do you play this one from a game theory perspective? 43% owned. Man, it's almost always good to fade the 43% owned driver. I don't care who he is or what his potential is.
So I like to fade those guys at like 90% of the tracks. This is one of the tracks where I would just play the chalk. Here in Richmond are the tracks I've singled out as just like you play the place differential chalk because the cream rises so fast here. And like, William Byron could still like dominate this race. If you can still get that 20-1 number, that's so good. There's so much upside here, and he should be in the mix by stage 2. And yeah, he's just been his long run speed solid. Like, been really good this entire season. Probably might be like the best driver currently, at least up there. Like, definitely in the top 3. Now in certain contests, like the higher dollar contests, single entries, he's going to be so high owned. We're talking like 50-60% there, that it's probably better to fade. But for the most part, I think he's a safe enough play just because he has real dominator upside. You're not playing him just for the place differential.
I hear it.
He's going to get fast laps along the way.
Brady, Joey Logano, he is starting 22nd. Really close in price to Willie Byron.
Yeah, it just becomes really hard to play Logano. Like with those top 3 guys, it's hard to make a case for playing Logano rather than Byron outside of I'm just trying to be different.
I'm not sure how different you're getting. I mean, he's 20% owned. He's like, nah, it's not that different. He's still gonna
and the stats just like it's an okay track for Joey. It's like top 10 pretty consistently, but not a dominator track, not a track where he goes and blows it out of the water. And I think Penske's probably going to be a step behind Hendrick and maybe even Gibbs and probably Trackhouse as well. So you're paying up this price for like a 3rd-tier team in this situation. So
tricky.
It's hard to make
place
sense.
Differential bait.
Minimal.
I feel like.
Yeah, it's not enough place differential for me. Again, you'll see how much incredible place diff there is coming up. So to me, Logano falls in a weird spot of GPP only. Mix him in your 150 if you make him, just in case. Logano does find his way into the nuts lineup more often than not, and it's like, how did he get there? I don't know. He just finds his way, and he's not dominating, or randomly he'll dominate a race once in a while, but it's usually just finding his way up towards the front, towards the end. It's like, oh shit, he made it in. But he's a little spendy for me at 10-6, considering he hasn't been anything particularly special in terms of speed or domination this season, whereas the other 3 guys priced above him all have been that, or at least have the specter of dominating the shit out of this race, or Willie Byron. Logano falls in a weird spot. Another guy who's fallen in a weird spot here is, and these two, I'm gonna throw them in the same boat. Although Brady, I think you'll like Bowman maybe better because he's Hendrick, but Blaney and Alex Bowman. So we got them. There's back-to-back 5th and 6th. Again, this is a weird spot. No one's gonna really want to play these guys. 18% and 16%. So the ownership is down a little bit here. Either one can dominate though and destroy this track. Either one can do it, but it seems more likely that Larson or Elliott will do it. So it's kind of like hard to pull the trigger on these guys. What do you say, Brady? Blaney and Bowman, I feel like they're both in a weird sort of no man's land.
Yeah, Blaney is just so hard to peg for DFS reasons because he leads so many laps, but he just can't finish. So he ends up leading 100 laps and finishing 7th, which usually puts him in the optimum or borderline optimal, but it's just so hard to project those out. He's such a good hot lapper, like he can put down fast lap time, but he hasn't been finishing races and hasn't been winning races. Obviously, he's led the 2nd most laps in the series and hasn't got a win. So it's hard to play Blaney. It's hard to project him because he could lead a bunch of laps and finish 5th, which is going to be probably borderline optimal. The only reason I like Bowman is just being a little different. I think it's easy to avoid Bowman. He's over 10,000. He starts 5th, 6th in this no man's land, and he's pretty clearly the 4th Hendrick car. So he'll probably go pretty low owned comparatively, but even still, I don't find myself using much Bowman.
Just gotta throw him in the Bowman. Yeah. Could you not see him though? Like you're watching the race, it's like
Bowman's the opposite of Blaney.
70
like,
70 laps.
He just randomly finished as well.
Yeah, I mean Bowman 70 laps in, all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck, it's Bowman in the front. And then that's how NASCAR goes, guys. These no man's land drivers, every once in a while, it's just that guy. And
no practice times to make it a head scratcher because Blaney was so good in practice, and Bowman. But I mean, I don't know how much you're looking at these practice times. If you look up and down the board, they're kind of scuffed all around. Like
ignoring them.
Some of the best practice times are like Allmendinger.
I'm fully ignoring it.
So weird how it all shook out.
This is not a track where it matters. This is the standard car in the standard track. I don't think I don't. If you're relying too much on practice times for this one, I think that's it.
No, this ain't it. We need them full practices back, man.
Yeah,
we really do.
That's not the place. So for me, both Blaney and Bowman, I'm going to favor Bowman because Brady is just touting the shit out of Hendrick, and for that, and Bowman can be in the front and he could lead. Blaney fine too. Either one of them could get there. But what I would say more for rule and in lineup construction is, you definitely don't want more than 2 of these guys, these top 15 dominators that cost a lot of money. You don't want more than 2 of them. You can allow as many as 2. I would do at most 2 of these types of guys, because if Blaney or Bowman are dominating the shit out of this race, Larson and Elliott are not, and Byron. So like, if you're getting it, there's no room to play more than, I even think 1 is enough of this top 5 starting group, but 2 at the most, but 1 is probably enough for me. It's just not that likely that guys who are starting up here. And by the way, there's another guy, an old man, a boomer, that is also, he's starting second. That's Denny Hamlin. And I want to talk about this whole boomer crew of Truex, Hamlin, Harvick, and Kyle Busch. That's right. I have now dubbed them the boomers. Old guys, the old guard.
God, I actually like the oldest boomer out of all of them. Isn't that weird?
Who's that? Harvick? Fuck Harvick. I can't. What? Why do you like Harvick? I don't. What?
I've got Harvick as short and
steep track races. Look at his track history.
I see it. No.
That dude lives in the top 6.
No. Yeah, I've got him as one of the best plays on the slate myself.
I saw it.
Last season, he struggled so hard over the last 2 seasons. It's been apparent. But at this track type, it's like he has no problems at all. He was amazing at Bristol, amazing at Dover, Darlington, and really just the short track package overall. Like this season, even at the short tracks, Richmond, Phoenix, very good finishes there. Ran really well.
He would have won at Bristol last year, and Chase Elliott.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to.
He kind of ruined it, but he's much faster than he was last year.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be like, I think there's a situation. I'm still so bullish on Hendrick that it's hard to peg any dominators, but he could dominate this race, and I think he'll be in the top 5 all day.
All of a sudden,
yeah, Stuart Haas is back, baby. Two seasons of fading him.
I need to get some fades going, guys. Denny Hamlin starting second. He could get into first place and dominate too. He knows how to dominate a race. That's Denny Hamlin, and he does like to dominate. He doesn't tend to dominate like the traditional 1.5 mile intermediates. This one plays like that a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't see the speed from Joe Gibbs. Like, they've got to find something in race. I think they've got to work on the car, and by the end of the race, I think they'll be competitive. But as these cars launch, I didn't see speed from any of them that made me think they could dominate this race.
Taco, any of Truex, Hamlin, or Kyle Busch stand out to you here?
Not a fan of Hamlin because second place, the guy who starts second place to this track tends to get screwed over off the restart. Truex is interesting. I mean, I don't care where he's starting. He's starting 18th. That's cool. You're playing him for Doms here. He might have the best track history of anyone. And at a long race, this is a very long race. Truex, his crew does a really good job of getting the car to where it needs to be by the end of the race. And this race is as many laps as Martinsville. It's twice as long as Martinsville, so it's one of the longer races. I think that plays into Truex a bit here. Of course, we didn't see any speed from that entire team. And then I like Harvick here, obviously. But Kyle Busch, he's interesting only because of his price and his ownership. I've seen him and Hamlin over the last few weeks go shockingly under-owned, and it hasn't hurt anyone yet. They've been safe fades, but eventually these guys are going to make the field pay and dominate at like 8% ownership. It's just a matter of time.
Well, you're losing a lot of money waiting for that.
Yeah, of course. I'm not really playing it. It's just one of these guys eventually is going to be worth like a stand. It could be very lucrative. I'm probably not going to go there. I mean, Kyle Busch looks okay. The price is very solid.
Right now,
not as big on Hamlin at all though. And Truex, I'll probably not play.
Truex starting 18th.
Yeah, just because I'm playing all the guys around him instead. There's really just no room for him.
This is what I'm saying. We're having a hard time eliminating drivers right now, and it's going to be a problem going into this race. We're about to get to the zone that I love. I call this the young guns zone here, and I love them. They all got good starting positions for the most part. There is a sexy crew right here. Actually, I'd include D Swizz in there as well at this point. So our next 5 drivers, guys, these are the young guns. You know what? I was getting ready to do like a little Bon Jovi singing. I do better with the rap, like, you know, wow. You know what I'm talking about? The young guns.
Just don't do it too accurate. You get copyright flagged.
Yeah, I don't want to get a copy. My accuracy on my air
He's
guitar
pitch perfect
mouthing is pretty. Brady, they have you know, Bon Jovi up in your neck of the woods. Is that a thing?
Yeah. No, we've got all the same culture that you
on
have.
On the old transistor.
They got internet connection there too. I heard.
They had it in the 90s. It would come in through one of those cranked transistor radios in Newfoundland. Just crank it up.
Ham radio out.
AM frequency going. Like pick up a little radio. Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Daniel Swartz, the young guns of NASCAR. Some of them. All with great starting positions. Tyler Reddick starting 26th. What? Are you serious? He loves this track type. Is Tyler Reddick the best play on the slate at this price?
I'm playing twice of whatever the field has, man. I'm all in Reddick here.
It's 35%. You're playing 70% T-low?
Yep.
I don't blame you. He loves it here. This is his spot. Brady Miller, Tyler Reddick. This is his spot, no?
Yeah, and I think he's been just irrelevant enough for the last couple of weeks to maybe suppress his ownership by a couple points. So this just sets up for it just sets up as a really good spot for him. He did really well here. I meant to go back and check it, but he did really well here.
His finishes weren't reflective of how he ran.
He ran really well in the Xfinity series here in the past too. Like, it's a good track type for him, and he might not have speed at the start, but as the groove moves towards the wall, that's when he'll really pick up speed and on long runs. So, I think Reddick is a pretty good play.
He's been great, and that starting spot and the salary being a little under all of these other guys, it's hard not to love Tyler Reddick. But I love all of these guys. Ross Chastain, okay, he's starting 7th, but this kid has been dominating everything this year. It's great. No track history, don't care. The guy has been great this year. He's starting 7th, lower ownership. Actually, 22% is crazy high ownership. Taco, what? He's starting 7th.
Weekly reminder to never look at Ross Chastain's deep track history, because that's all in junk equipment.
Yeah, we ignore that. We're ignoring that.
Yeah.
Ross Chastain is an elite driver this year. That's it. Accept it.
Again, I think Chastain will come down to earth eventually, because I don't know if I like making deductions off of the chunk of season that we've seen so far, because it's still a bit inconclusive. I mean, obviously, he is certainly up there. Trackhouse looks really good overall. We'll see over the next 4 or 5 weeks if that carries on. I think with him winning at Talladega, it's just kind of a week for me to get off of Chastain, because he's gonna be fresh in everyone's mind, but it's super speedway. It doesn't really matter.
That win last week.
I'm just
couldn't be.
Yeah, again, we have to put some guys away. I'm just not playing Chastain much this week. Probably come back to bite me, but that's what I'm doing, just so I can fanboy on Reddick a little bit and just get some more of these other guys in there.
Brady, Chase Briscoe, starting 23rd, spectacular place differential capabilities here.
Yeah.
Just great this year. This kid is good at driving. His team has been great. What's not to like about Chase Briscoe? I love it. I want to be in this zone.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm with Taco. Like, I was a little less I was a little more whelmed with Ross Chastain this week.
You're whelmed.
And I think you're catching him at his highest point, and I think we're catching Chase Briscoe on his lowest point. If you go back and look, like, Tyler Reddick and Chastain have been the talk of the town, but Chase Briscoe's led more laps this year than Ross Chastain, and not that many, only 9 less than Tyler Reddick. Like, Chase Briscoe is firmly in the mix when it comes to talking about these breakout drivers. And Dover is a track that he adapts to quite well. I think Stewart Haas is faster than we think this weekend. They didn't show much in practice, but I think they were in race trim. I didn't see any qualifying effort out of them. So I think Chase Briscoe will do really well here. I think there's legitimate top 10 upside, if not top 5 upside. And if Stuart Haas comes out and has the best race setup, then it's him and Harvick going to dominate this race.
This has been, there's so many possible guys to play this week. It really is going to make it difficult. And as we're going through this, I'm seeing my total exposures for each driver just coming down and down and down because there's so many guys I want to play right here. So right at the bottom of the Young Guns crew, we've got Christopher Bell and Daniel Suarez. Again, both really, really looking better this year. Christopher Bell, Brady, you've been the Christopher Bell whisperer. This has been your guy. Is this a Christopher Bell track? He's starting 17th.
No.
Not a Christopher Bell track. No.
No, I didn't. I was pretty underweight on Christopher Bell this week.
Interesting. Okay. Starting 17th. No difference.
Just this a horrible track type for him. He's not a great, like, he's a flat track guy through and through. When the banks get high, he loses something. I think in the recent history of short/steep tracks, he had one or two top tens and only led laps at Richmond. Albeit that Richmond race was this year. But it's even that
track, I just listed the two most recent short tracks we've been to recently there.
Yeah,
this track type, he has been Garbo.
The history has been
Garbo
the best. So, all right, hopefully we found a fadeable driver at 24% ownership. That would be nice. Okay, let me get a little leverage there. Now, Daniel Suarez, aka D-Swizz, 8% owned. No one likes Daniel Suarez in this spot. Starting 8th overall, Taco. Is there any reason for me to get down with the Swizz here? He hasn't been great in this track type. He's been great this year, though.
So I'm not really into trying to predict when guys will break out. So I know it's coming for Suarez. He's shown so many signs of it. I'm very tempted to say it's this week. Starting 8th, he's going to have no ownership. No one's really going to play him because he's not seen as like a dominator yet. But he's 20-1 odds. His odds are out of control. And we've seen with Chastain. I think Suarez is capable of it. Like, feels like a breakout race for him coming. And I would not be shocked in the least if he led like 100 laps at like 5% ownership.
I would be shocked.
Everyone was mad. But there's no way he's going to project well. No chance he's projecting well anywhere.
That would be shocking, though, Taco. Like, everybody, at this price level, you're trying to play place differential guys. Brady, you think Daniel Suarez has a shot to find his way up to the... I mean, there's a lot of goodness going on in the top 8. I mean, you've got...
It's just Larson. Like this season, the parity with the mid-range teams. I don't see why Suarez would be excluded from that group.
A lot of talent up in the mid-range.
I'm happy excluding Suarez from that group. I think Suarez is a good driver, and I think he can run top 10 here, but it's going to be really hard for him to pay off top 8. He's led laps and been impressive here this year, but Atlanta, Austin, Bristol Dirt, and Talladega is where he's led laps. Just 4 chaotic races that don't have any predictability to them at all. All the more
that is true.
All the more traditional races we've seen this year, he's finished okay and finished in the top 10, but he's not dominated or been all that impressive. He's
got to dominate from that starting position because there's so many place differential guys that are going to get you cheap points just moving up a little bit. Talk about another guy. So we got a name here in Brad Keselowski who we like, but hasn't been that
you're not going to like what I have to say here.
Oh boy. Oof. Starting 20th. Give it to me.
I made him a 5-star play and a cash play, to be honest.
Keselowski?
Yeah, Brad Keselowski.
Is he a bet at 70-1?
I did bet him a little bit at 60-1, but not very much. I don't think he'll win, but I think it's a good play. I think if you look at his track history, always top 10, consistently top 10. And one thing that Keselowski and Chris Buescher have had over the last couple weeks in the more traditional tracks is long run speed. Multiple runs. At the end of the run, Keselowski was the fastest car on the long runs. He's just been 9 seconds behind because they're so dog shit slow on the short run. Both Buescher and Keselowski were the fastest short run cars in practice. His teammates on the pole. They brought speed this week, and I don't think it's race winning speed, but if they can be the fastest car on the short run and maintain their dominance in the long run, I see both Buescher and Keselowski running in the top 10 this week. I really think Keselowski I think they figured something out. I saw it for the first time at Richmond, and then they showed it again at Martinsville. Keselowski's a rocket ship on long runs. I think they figured something out, and the fact that they brought short run speed this week is very, very enticing. And at this point, I'm kind of chasing the Keselowski win but at 50-1, like Keselowski, if he comes out and is the fastest car in practice at any point in his career, you're never, ever, ever going to get 50-1 odds, and that's what we have here. So
pretty intense. I get the idea for a 50-1 bet, but yeah.
But even I think he runs top 10. Like he's the fastest short run car, undeniably. Well, not you can deny it, but I think we're underestimating.
Okay.
As much as I shit on them at the start, this Roush team.
I will not unfriend him based on your recommendation, even though I wanted to. He'll only be 15% owned. And again, the main reason you might not want to play a Keselowski is because, again, there's so much sexiness happening with the Reddick, Chastain, Briscoe crew just above in salary. There's some excitement going on right below him with Austin Dillon, who is starting 24th and has just generally been better this year than Keselowski, a lot of it, or at least my perception is that Austin Dillon is like a little better than Keselowski, a little cheaper and driving from a little further back. Am I wrong on that one though, Brady? I could be wrong.
No, I was. Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point where we just kind of like everyone on the slate, but I liked Austin Dillon too.
Yeah.
I preferred Keselowski just because I thought he would be lower owned, and I think he will be. But Austin Dillon
might be stupidly low owned. Like you see where he's at ownership or not ownership, but odds wise, he's like on that cliff. People hate playing people at the top of that cliff.
Yeah, and listen, Dillon has kind of sneakily become an above average driver after being a below average driver for the majority of his career. And he's been good this year, like quietly good. He hasn't been leading laps, he hasn't been dominating, but his finishes
he's been running top 10.
Have been fantastic. So I like Austin Dillon here too, at a track where he's been okay at in the past.
He's starting 26th. What's not to like? He's starting 26th. Like this guy's starting in the back. Now, two guys who are not starting in good spots at all in terms of upside, I would say they're starting in the weird zone. That's Kurt Busch and Austin Cindric, 16th and 12th respectively in terms of where their starting position is. It's a weird zone. That's all I could say. They're not giving you big place diff. And they don't really give you a dominator upside. So, Taco, like, what is it going to take for me to be interested in Kurt Busch or Cindric here? What's it going to take for them to be in the nuts? Looking at 16th and 12th starting points, I think they got to finish top 5, and they'll probably get there. But without a top 5 or even top 4 finish, they're not getting there. And there are other names that definitely stand out a little more. And between Cindric and Busch, Cindric has better sort of win odds and better odds. Is Cindric the better play here, even though he's starting a little bit further forward? Like, what do you have for these two?
I'd lump Bubba and Ricky into this group. Just like this is the one undesirable range on this slate.
Yeah, the undesirable.
The soft pricing makes it. I agree. The qualifying how it shook out, and the soft pricing kind of makes it a lot of like a lot of guys on this slate. And big fan of Austin Dillon just because he's been running this season and how he's ran better than his finishes would suggest. Kurt Busch, the absolute most milquetoast play that I could think of. I don't see like the upside, I guess.
No one's owning any
Bubba and Ricky. Guys. Yeah, Bubba and Ricky just overqualified, and I really doubt they could do anything. This is not a track where these guys do anything. They're always gonna be cock blocked by the guys on top teams. But Cindric is on a top team, and it kind of makes him a little interesting. He had that hot lap, but even still, I'm not terribly interested.
This is a turd zone. You can unfriend Brady unless you're talking me out of it. I want to unfriend these 4 guys and just say, hey, you got to take some stands somewhere. These are not high owned drivers. The only reason not to unfriend them would be because they're not high owned. But beyond that, they all look terrible. And the part of the problem is there's another great zone right down here where you're going to want to get some of these guys in there. So
the problem is the field's going to unfriend them too. So you're not being very different in front of these guys.
It's just the way to get different. But the ownership tells the tale. Like, they're not good plays.
The only one that I might have exposure to is Kurt Busch, because he has been, before we went through this stretch of Martinsville, Bristol, Talladega, which are super unpredictable, he had been pretty consistently running with the top Toyotas. But I still think his ceiling is like barely top 10. So even if he finishes 8th or 9th, like he might
that
not
doesn't
get there.
come anywhere near winning you a tournament. Let's try to fuck these guys, man. Fuck this crew.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem with these guys.
Yeah,
Outside,
fuck them.
there's
Unfriend them
none.
all. Fuck those
top 5.
Yeah. Now here are 2 great drivers. I don't even. This is another thing. This is why this track is so interesting and this race is so interesting. You've got Eric Jones, who's been also very very good this year, and I think he's in the young gun sort of mix of drivers that could emerge as a lead at some point. Although more of like a scrubby driver that just does well, not so much a dominator, but he's dominated some stuff too. Eric Jones, good driver, starting 24th, starting 25th.
Dude, think back to the last time we were at this track type. It was the Bristol Fall race. Eric Jones popped the fuck off. I'm trying to think of why is he 200 to 1, Almirola's 100 to 1. They're not that different of plays on paper, I don't think.
Because the books love disrespecting Eric Jones and Ty Dillon.
They just hate GMS Petty. Like they just despise that team.
Yeah.
I don't think he could win, but yeah, these plays are terrific in my book. Like Almirola is like the safe cash game version of the play, and then Jones obviously playing GPP has more upside, in my opinion.
Brady, anything on these 2?
Yeah, I like them both. I don't really prefer one to the other. I think Eric Almirola will have the better car, but I think Eric Jones is a little better at this track type. So it evens out for me. Maybe slight lean to Jones because I think his upside is a little higher. I think if Eric Almirola is fast, that means Buscher and Harvick are going to be super fast too, which it takes some position away from them. But they're both good plays.
There are some real different ways to approach this track, and I'll show you in a minute a bunch of guys that almost make Jones and Almirola futile or worthless. I'm actually having a hard time believing some of these ownerships, Taco, because there are just guys there are drivers everywhere that kind of negate other guys. Like it's crazy. So I'll show you what I mean. So these 2, normally on a normal race, actually they'd be great salary savers, but they're still a little pricey for quote non-dominators. You got some dominators not that much higher up. And if you consider, I'll throw a question for you. You can either go Jones and Almirola in your lineup, or you can make a choice to go with a Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland type and pairing that up with Tyler Reddick. Which way do you go? And I think that the answer is if this is the question, the answer is you go with the Harrison Burton, Ross Chastain, Briscoe style combo, Reddick style combo, where you have a
go that way most of the time.
Yeah, and a play stiff guy rather than the 2 play stiff guys that aren't probably going to dominate. So the way that this track comes together, and Cole Custer's in that mix, where you're like, there are some different ways to do this. Now, before we get to that, Chris Buescher, starting on the pole, it's not good.
He could lead 40 laps until a competition caution.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
I'd give that a 5 to 10% chance of happening. Like you have a real advantage, like leading off here, and it's kind of hard to pass. He might be just fast enough that he could do that, but he's gonna get bounced. He'll end up finishing 15th. Will it all be worth it? Probably not.
There was one race last year, I think it was Homestead, where he got the lead and inexplicably led like 100 laps.
Yep.
Like, he can control a race, and he was really, really impressive in qualifying. But I'm pretty sure he was in qualifying trim, and most everybody else was in racing trim. So I think he'll get bounced pretty quick here.
Probably will, but if he doesn't, you're going to get him at very low ownership. So that's the only real thought of playing Chris Buescher is he needs to hang around in the top, but he'll probably need to lead. There's a competition caution at lap 40, I believe, and he'll need to lead this bad boy for a long ass time. So 5% ownership, that's your reason for considering him. AJ Allmendinger, starting 19th, he's good at certain kinds of tracks, not necessarily this one. Anything stand out about Dinger here? He doesn't look like he's going to be very high owned.
No, he chose to come here.
He's going to get crushed.
He's driving a lot this year. He's not like, he seems almost like a full-time driver.
Colleague ain't it in the Cup Series.
Yeah, fuck
their pit crew is horrible. He's going to lose so much track position. Track position is so important here. He's going to melt down and he's going to put it in the wall on purpose and finish 36th.
All right, no Dinger for me. Cole Custer, does have a great starting position, starting 30th, quality driver. Actually, let's throw these two guys together. Custer, Ty Dillon. Custer, I tend to think is in a better vehicle. Ty Dillon, he's just a good driver, always disrespected, always too cheap. Brady, been all over him. I like both of these plays personally, but Brady, either of these guys stand out to you. They're just more play stiff upside guys. Both have decent ownership expectations. Cole Custer seems to be projecting significantly higher owned. Why is that?
It's a great track for him. It's one of his better tracks. Like I said, I think Stuart Haas is kind of sneaky fast this week. And Custer has been fast here without fast cars. So he's finished top 11 every time he's come here. So I think Cole Custer's a really, really good play. Ty Dillon, less so. I wasn't as impressed. I think this isn't necessarily his best kind of track. I had him kind of running 23rd, which is 30 points if you want it, but I think Cole Custer for the same money gets you probably closer to 40.
Don't want the 30 on a track like this and need the 40.
Yeah. So
I like Dillon just runs 23rd everywhere, I swear.
Yeah, and they're the same price.
Can be good, but not here.
I think a Ty Dillon type would have stood out a lot more if Cole Custer wasn't $200 above him, and also if you didn't have the Gilliland Harrison Burton combo for cheaper. That would have made Ty Dillon stand out, but we're not really forced to play him this week because of those other guys that are floating around. So yeah, Cole Custer though, pretty core play. Ty Dillon, more of a value punt that could get there. I think the way I look at it. Here's a couple of unfriend yous. Priest and Haley, 13th and 14th respectively. No reason to play either of these guys. We've got
it's
Todd
so
Gilliland.
Binary down low. It's like it's so obvious. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's either plays that are really good or just god awful unfriend use from 7K and below all the way across the board.
Look at how the ownerships are in this column here. It's like red, 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 green, green, green. You know, there's not a lot of these Keselowski types in the middle. It's just green or red, and it's interesting that it's going down like that. But Priest and Haley, you could just uncheck them. Gillian and Harrison Burton are the last two interesting drivers on the slate, and both of them are
they both wrecked.
They're like decent drivers, I think. Like, just what are the prospects? Harrison Burton's got a massive salary reduction here down to the supreme scrub levels. He's getting the plus 500 pricing. Treatment. Brady, is this correct? Is he just as bad as, I guess he's worse than Colo?
No, not at all. Like if you look at if you scroll over, like highlight Harrison Burton's row and scroll over to his finishing in the next gen car, like he's finished in the top 20 pretty consistently. Like he definitely stands out here. Like look at, like he's the only green down here in pretty much every column. I don't know why he gets priced down because he's been running well, but I think it's because he's been qualifying well as well.
Pricing.
But all that said, like he's a good driver. He's a good short track driver. I think we were worried that him and Gilliland were pushed to the Cup Series a little too quick, but they've shaken those concerns for me. I think they're both going to be pretty consistently top 20 guys moving forward.
Yeah, Harrison Burton has been a little bit better than Todd Gilliland.
Better equipment for sure, yeah.
Yeah. So like if you had to compare these two, Harrison Burton is in is that the old Kurt Busch car?
The old Matt Benedetto car.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Blaney's old car.
Yeah, and Blaney's won in this car. So like it's got race winning upside. Burton's not going to win, but he can run in the top 20, and he has been running in the top 20. I don't know why they decided to price him down, but
I don't get it. They just hate him and Custer in particular.
He hasn't been like expensive, but it's not like he's been.
He's been qualifying 12th and finishing 16th. Yeah. But now he's qualified 35th. He's going to finish
6,500 last week.
I hate looking at this page because it doesn't tell you what track it was on. You have to really think about it. It's like, okay, what was the Toyota winners for?
But he's been running where he starts pretty much.
Yeah,
but
he's
this week
been over qualifying. He's been low owned.
Let's just look at the Toyota Owners 500 as a nice example. He finished 18th, 17th, 18th. This is about where he finishes. So if we get 35th to 18th, he's
with
scoring
5 fast laps.
A couple fast laps thrown in there. He's going to put up 43, 45.
You know damn well this is the chalk bomb guy, though.
Probably.
You know
But no, there's
damn
not
well
enough.
going in.
Taco,
Maybe I'll reverse Warlock him enough.
the chalk is not. It's not congealing around anybody. And there's too many chalk plays. Like I said, you can do and you know, I said we do a lineup construction. Let's show how it comes together. So we already talked about like certain guys we love. I love this zone. So let's say I throw Tyler Reddick in there. I throw Briscoe in there, right? I got a couple of these guys. I want to get a dominator in. Pick a dominator.
Well, just do Burton and Gilliland. Just chuck them up there. So you got to work with.
You can do whatever you want. You talk about both of these, but look how many other play stiff guys there are. If you play Burton and Gilliland, now look how much salary. I mean, okay, now you can do
and get Larson and then Dom.
Yeah, even that doesn't get you Larson and Chase Elliott though. Keep it in mind. But
like Elliott, Byron in the final two or whatever.
Yeah, can go. I can't get Byron in there, but this is on screen, right? Yeah, so you can't quite fit that, but you know, I could get there if I went off of Briscoe. You know, there are ways to get here, but you don't even need this much turtliness. Oh, I go with your boy Keselowski, but you don't even need this much crap.
I would take Gilliland out of there, honestly. I don't love Gilliland.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't need this much garbage in the lineup. We could do like a better version of it where you have a lot of guys that you kind of love in there instead of man, it's hard for me to pull the trigger, Brady, on Keselowski. I'm not.
But Dylan's a good I think Austin Dillon right there too. Same price, more upside. Eric Jones, you could put in there.
Dillon could be priced the same as Logano this week, and I still wouldn't know who to pick. They're just $3K in salary difference.
There's Harvick hanging out. Like you can get Dominator potential, Dominator, elite place differential. You know, it's like so many ways.
The way the slate shakes out, like you're tying with so many people in this lineup.
I don't know if you are. I don't know if you are because other people will go a different way. I'm telling you, you'll get the Keselowski people. You'll get Cole Custer. I don't have Cole Custer in here. Then you look at it, you're like, how could you make a lineup without Cole Custer? What are you crazy? So now I put Cole Custer in there. It's like, oh shit. You know what? I can get rid of Harvick. I don't want to play Truex, but you know, I could change it around a little bit. You know,
but even like playing Hamlin in that situation, like Hamlin starts second, he could dominate earlier, and that's a lineup that makes sense. Yeah.
Now, you know, you got to Hamlin. Boom. Yeah. So there are a lot of ways to put your lineup together. I don't think you're going to have some extreme chalk because, like I said, you could Custer and Custer and Burton stand out very cheap. You have the Jones and Almirola group. You have the Chastain, Reddick, Briscoe group. There are all these groups and all the way up to the Kyle Larsons. Hey, fuck Kyle Larson. I want to play Kyle Larson, right? Now you can afford something even better. So now you can get down with, you know, Chase Elliott. Okay. And hey, I got enough money for, well, I couldn't quite get to Willie Byron, but you get the idea here. There's a lot of ways to build your lineup today. And I don't expect extreme chalk to happen around anything. So
I think there's only one guy that breaks 40%.
Let's do this before we wrap it up. You got a little lineup construction sort of stuff without getting too revealing here, but let's pick our winners for this one. And for you guys who are watching this, pop that in the chat. Who are you? You know, who do we want to take a shot on to win this thing? Let's throw some odds out there. We can get 30 plus 30. We can get 30x our money here with some of these drivers. So I'll start with you, Brady. Who are you picking today to win this race?
I've been on Chase Elliott pretty much since the start of this week. I just think it shakes out as a very good week for Hendrick to get him a win. So I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. If you're looking for more of a long shot, I do have money on Keselowski. Like, I don't think he'll win, but I do think he's being mispriced. And
70 I always or 60 to 1. 70 or 60 to 1 on Keselowski, 7 to 1 on Chase. Okay. Taco, who you got?
I kind of really like William Byron to win this race in the end.
Right.
I know he's chalking DFS, but he's 20 to 1 on the books. Probably more like 16, 17 now.
The chalk bomb of all time right there.
No, that'd be saying Larson. Come on. It's not like I picked a 5 to 1 guy. All right?
No.
That's just to straight up win the race. I think by the end of it, he puts himself there and he wins.
Starting 33rd, that will be the nuts play on a DFS.
YOLO long shot, man. Jones 200 to 1. Just what's the top 5 odds are better?
13 to 1.
Yeah.
Top 5 odds are not the sharpest play. If you see how many people are only 2 or 3 to 1,
juiced up.
I
Yeah,
never play
these are-
exotics in NASCAR.
Yeah, these are not odds that you want to be fucking with. Like, I'm only getting 3.5 to 1 for Suarez top 5. Hell no. The math don't work on those. I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick to get this W.
Oh my! About time. He is getting the Matty D treatment so unfairly.
26 to 1.
It's a reminder to say "fuck you, Chase Briscoe."
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the
asshole.
way, I like I like Briscoe too, but I like
jerk.
his zone, so I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go with Tyler Reddick as my choice. Guys, in the comments, like I said, pop your win pick in there. Let us know who you think is gonna win. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to be notified of the next NASCAR video. We've got fantasy football videos coming out next week. We've got reaction to the draft, of course, new projections, all kinds of good stuff following this incredible draft. I'm drafting a bunch of rookie drafts too. It's all happening right now. So super exciting week to be subscribed to the DFS Army YouTube channel. So make sure you're doing that. It's free. The subscription is free. The advice is priceless.
Subscription is free. The advice is priceless.
I didn't steal that from anywhere. I just made it up.
Hilarious.
Completely created that on my own.
IndyCar race starting right now. I bet it earlier in the week. I think it's probably gone, but I think Rinus VK is going to win this race. I don't do a lot of IndyCar, but I've been working on it, and we're getting closer to a model for IndyCar.
There we go. Ooh, I like the sound of that. So
what's the name? Rinus VK, but I think he's like plus 400. I think that number's probably no good to bet anymore. But if he wins this race, then the model will be as I thought it would be, and we're getting pretty close.
All right, so let's keep an eye out on that, and we'll start dominating a little bit of F1.
No, IndyCar. I'm so far off on F1. It's not even close.
See, I'm so far off. I thought IndyCar and F1 was the same thing.
No.
Just watch a Netflix documentary. You're good to go.
I got to get that. I got to get that documentary going. All right.
I'm sure I just take for granted the complexities of NASCAR, so I don't even think of them as complexities. But the amount of complexities that go on in F1, like just race to race, is just overwhelming to me.
I thought F1 was just like there are 4 good teams. They each have 1 good driver, and you just basically pick that guy, and they always dominate. It's like the same 3 guys winning every race.
F1 is like NASCAR. If SRT data is available to everyone.
If what was available?
If SRT data is available to everyone, like full telemetry, that's F1.
Yeah,
I have not played it because
New York eventually hack their servers and steal it. I swear to God.
As far as I can tell, I don't think. Let me see. I'll double check it. But I'm not sure that I've been able to enter F1 contests here in New York. I haven't tried. So you know what? I'm not going to say, but a lot of sports just aren't available in New York on DraftKings. And when new ones pop up, New York has a weird rule about it, and it takes a while for you to get access to it. I don't know why. It's a very strange thing.
No USFL for you?
No, I get there. It's not available here.
Wow, that's fucked up.
Which is why people are like, hey, you love football. I'm like, dude, I like it when I can bet on DFS it, but if you're gonna take that away from me, I ain't watching.
Well, Geek's the biggest USFL fan I know, so that must really tug at your heartstrings to not be able to bet it.
That's not a good sign for your fans of USFL at all, if I'm the biggest one. So anyway, let's wrap it up. Good stuff. Fast 40. We got Dover Duramax Drydene 400 going down 2 hours. Get your lineups in. Be creative with your lineups, guys, because like I said, the chalk is crazy. You can really get different without having to get silly. There's lots and lots of potential winners here. So I think it should be a fun track. Not a lot of carnage to look forward to. So let's be right about our dominators. Let's be right about our play stiff guys. And let's get this money. I'll see you guys at the top of the lineups. Good luck, everybody. See you next time.